Let's get to our session. First of all, Kelly Cox, introduce yourself a little bit to the group so they know what you do. ADT is a well-known brand, and you've got TV commercials, but give us just a high level on ADT and yourself.
We are obviously a well-known brand, been around for almost 150 years. So I'm Kelly Cox, National Strategic Partnership Manager for ADT, with a focus on builder and iBuyer and build to rent and all of those pieces that ADT has a lot of experience with. I've been with ADT for 16 years. And there's a lot of exciting things happening in the future, in the very near future.
Yep, that's great. You know, I talked about George and Residio's, strong roots on the security side of things. Obviously, that's ADT's. It's a long part of the legacy. You've got a much broader offer now. But I think when I was thinking about the players on this session, and our topic is education and onboarding, I think the security industry has been a little closer to this issue than maybe some of the other categories. And back when I started working with the Security Industry Association in the mid-90s, there was actually an existential threat to the security industry, which was false alarms. The police were going to stop responding to requests for a dispatch from call centers because there were so many false alarms, and it was such a drain on the municipal resources that, and that was a threat, right? Because monitoring is the lifeblood of the security industry, is a big threat for ADT. And so when I was at the Security Industry Association, we spent a lot of time trying to figure out, well, what is the false alarm problem? And there were some things on the technology side of things. There were some sensors that could be improved to filter out non-alarm type triggers. There were some process things like calling back the homeowner when there's an activation to see if they're actually there. But the number one thing that came up, I think was 65 to 70% of the problem, was user error.
Absolutely.
And user error is basically the people don't know how to operate the system, right? So the whole industry, big industry, had an existential threat in the 90s that was around bad onboarding and education for the user. So I think the companies in this space have spent more time thinking about what the tools and tactics are to get good education and onboarding in place, because it was such a big deal for them. And that's why I think it's great for you to be up here on the panel and for Residio to be sponsoring this. Here's what we're gonna cover today. We're gonna look at best practices on the onboarding and initial education side of things. We're trying to get a great start on the ownership experience. I'm gonna try to push another acronym here, ownership experience, OE, instead of customer experience or consumer experience. And then our flow is just, we're gonna look at 5 keys to great onboarding and education, not education. That was when I had a little bout of French, I think, education. Here are the 5 keys that we identified, Kelly and I working through this topic. But we should start with why is it important? So it was important to the security industry because it was an existential threat. But talk about the importance in terms of just buyer satisfaction on this piece.
Well, the buyer satisfaction is so key because we want buyers, we want homeowners to use the technology that comes in their homes. And this isn't only the technology that the integrator is installing, but that your trades might be installing as well. And knowing how, for the user to have the education and the resources to refer back to of how to control their thermostat and their lights and their smart lock and have it all work together. Leaving that up to the homeowner or up to the builder, that's a heavy lift. And that should be the responsibility of the integrator.
Yeah, and you have a data point, which is really about people voting with their pocketbooks, about the length of engagement with the service when there is good onboarding and education versus when there isn't. It's about 30-40% longer that they're going to stay with their monitoring contract when there's good engagement on the education and onboarding piece, right?
Absolutely, and we especially see that in new construction. Those homeowners that are buying those new homes tend to stay with ADT. We only have ADT data to stay with ADT for a longer period of time and to actually use the technology.
What we're going to do on the 5 keys here is walk through each of the bubbles and kind of break it down a little bit. So the first piece really doesn't have a whole heck of a lot to do with actual delivery of orientation and training, but it's foundational, right? Which is you need to establish a system that is going to be simple to operate. The more challenging the operation of that system is, the more challenges there are on the training and such. So designing for some simplicity is really important. And then I think also in terms of a feature set, to have technologies that assist in these information flows, in the communications, that they're able to, through the platform itself, provide the training and information that the user needs to operate the system. Those are probably a couple of system design keys. Do you want to talk to that?
Sure, absolutely. So designing the system, designing the package that the builder's going to install is the first step. That's the ground level of building up for strong communication and education and onboarding. All those pieces have to work together. And it's not only how it works together when you turn the home over to the homeowner, but also how it's going to grow with that homeowner. So future-proofing, I know future-proofing is kind of a bad word to some, but being able to anticipate where technology is going and how that technology can be added and adapted to a homeowner.
Mm-hmm. So this is, we've got an example here of a simple system that a builder that some of you might know
Yes.
is doing. This is D.R. Horton's package. You all are involved with this along with your authorized dealer partners.
Our partners at Safe Haven are one of the best in the business at doing this. Safe Haven worked hand in hand with D.R. Horton to not only design a system of pieces that DRH really liked, but making sure that what they were choosing all worked together and communicated together and was simple to use together.
Yeah, so this is their standard. Mm-hmm. They've got a lot of support built around this, but this 100%. Was foundationally easy to teach the user how to operate it.
Absolutely.
So next key is selecting integrators that can do this work, right? And so I think there are a lot of integrators out there that can do the technical job. They could design a system, they can install a system, they may be able to support the system in the field. But the question is, do they have the communication and education and customer relations chops to really be a partner in this activity? And I mean, I don't have a percentage, but it's not a big percentage of the integrators that can do that.
Absolutely. I mean, working with technology is a whole different ball game compared to some of the other categories. Communication is key. Educating the right people at the right time in the right way with the right supporting documents is going to make everyone's life easier.
Yeah. But there has to be this competency, this proficiency.
Absolutely.
And that's not like a lot of your other trades. So a lot of your other trades, you're really just looking for the technical chops. There's not going to be a lot of conversation around the plumbing system or the electrical system, or to some extent maybe on the HVAC, but not a ton of conversation there. This is a different animal. And so it's a different approach to vetting that particular trade partner that you want to query on their ability to communicate and educate with the consumer. It's important on the front end, on the sales and marketing side of things, because as we discussed in the first session, there's going to be handoffs. Ken's got a lot of handoffs to his integrators on the sales and marketing. Ken at Shea has a lot of handoffs to his integrators for the sales and marketing piece. He has to be sure that they're actually going to be able to handle that. That's not an easy task to find those. But it's also true on this system activation and onboarding side of things. It's communication skills rawly, but it's also, are they learning how people learn and able to communicate learning, which is different, right? Because there's
Absolutely.
like telling somebody, here's how you operate this, and then there's getting them to use it. There's active learning that's going to make the difference.
Well, I think it's also important that an integrator educates the builder and guides the builder on not only how this technology benefits and can be used by your homeowner, but also by the builder. A lot of this technology can help you today when the home is vacant, before appliances go in, before it's turned over to the homeowner. It can help with energy efficiency. It can help with vacancy control. We either have those experiences personally or know of those experiences of vandalism, theft, squatters, all those things. This technology can be used to protect those homes before the homeowner's even using it. And it's important that we can educate
We're
them.
going to get into that in a little more depth down the line here. So let's keep